Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the URC. Already we're into round 2, and round 1 was absolutely hectic. But this is the way that the table sits at the moment. As you can see, the Stormers, they are at the top of the bunch. They are going head-to-head with the Ospreys, who currently sit in 10th. Now, they did get themselves a bonus point from that game up against the Bulls, but a very unnormal sight here with Leinster sitting at the bottom of the bunch. That is not where they will remain. They will slowly grow throughout this competition, although they have got a tough opposition in the Bulls for their game this week. But the Stormers, after such a strong start to this URC comp, 35-0 win, they'll be looking to back it up with a big game here as well. Looking through at the starting lineup, it will be the Matongo in the front row alongside Andre Hugo Fente and Neling Fauchier, slotting in as the number 3, Audrey Smith alongside JD Schickerling for the lock-in duo with Marcel Tennyson, Connor Evans, and Evan Roos there slotting in as the 8. Now, he was dangerous last week, Roos, making some good meters and also just some very physical carries. Dufanache will be the 9 with Yuri Matia slotting in at 10. Dan Duplessis and Ruan Nel in the midfield with Lelion Zas, Ciabello, Sinetla out on the right wing, and Similani slotting in at number 15. So, of course, for the Stormers side, they are still missing their Springboks. They haven't got Damian Valimza, who's been absolutely tearing it up on the international stage, and also Sasha Feinberg Ngume Zulu, still yet to return for the Stormers side. Looking through at the Ospreys, they had a decent showing in their game up against the Bulls. They had some great moments. They actually led for some of that match as well, but front row for this game, it is Gareth Thomas, Dewey Lake, and also Reece Henry slotting in as the 3. Davies alongside Hugh Sutton in the lock-in duo with Ratti, Deves, and also Ross Moriarty, the experienced head, as the number 8. Kieran Hardy and Edwards will be the 19 combination with Williams and Kokina Singer in the midfield, or Thokina Singer, I should say, sorry. Out on one wing, Giles. Out on the other, Kasende. And then at number 15, it is Jack Walsh. So, the thing is, the Stormers will have a lot of confidence after their last game up against Leinster, but they also cannot underestimate this Ospreys team. I feel like the Bulls did for a little bit early on, and then from there they found their rhythm and worked out exactly what they had to do to beat this Ospreys team, but they did get themselves the losing bonus point and themselves plenty of points from round number 1. These are all of the matches from round number 1 as well, as you can see, opening with a bang, with that 35-0. Then from there, Ulster managing to beat the Dragons. Now the Dragons and the Sharks, they'll be playing off a little bit later on today for the URC, but 42 points to 21. And then also Glasgow getting that good win at home up against the Sharks. So 53 points to 40. That was the highest scoring game of the weekend. That involved the Ospreys. Not many sides. In fact, there was only one side that won that scored 40 points or more. So the Ospreys scored the second most, in fact, third most points out of any side in the whole of the round, and they did lose by 13. So it just shows you how this URC season could shape up. A lot of high-scoring games, but no one, surprisingly, other than Leinster, having a really bad showing in terms of the amount of points that they were able to get. Everyone getting a little bit of a decent charge. Cardiff getting the win over the Lions. The Lions taking on Zebre. They've managed to pull off the upset up against Edinburgh in round number 1. But we have got their Stormers also missing Kovith Reinach. That is true. They have got no Reinach in this matchup. But they have certainly got a lot of heart and they've got a lot of determination after the way that they played in that first match. Good day to all, says Wenmar. Welcome in, and also happy Friday all. How's it going, says Big Rick. Yes, an exciting weekend. The last international weekend of rugby for a little bit of time. The Rugby Championship coming to its close. And then from there we've got about 25 days or so for the, I was about to say before the Instagram, but before the November internationals get well and truly underway. We have got their Edinburgh versus Ulster just got postponed due to storm. Geez, that's not very good. Is there any other games that will be delayed because of that storm? More than likely, Big Rig Joe. I'm trying to think through if any other games are taking place in Scotland for this week, or is Ulster at home? It might actually be the other way around. We have got there, I think, Japan versus the Box is this month. Says Big Rig, they will be playing at around 25 days' time. Yes, just before the end of the November or just before the start of November. And we have got there windy, but okay, says Big Rig. And evening, Hamish. Thanks for the commentary. Sad news about Tupavai injury. Hope that it's not serious. Yeah, it did seem like he had a little bit of a tweak of the knee right at the end of the last game. And it's a tricky one for New Zealand because they keep on playing those guys who are right on the fringe of getting injuries. And I think that maybe they probably thought it was going to be all right, but it's not a bad move taking them out here. Definitely if there is going to be some sort of, relatively long layoff for him, I'd assume that he'll be all right by November, mainly because he was training with the side up until Thursday. My brother is at the Bath versus Sharks. No, not that one game. So here's Big Rig. Yeah, Gallagher Premiership also well and truly underway. I think, are these two sides ready to go? What is going on out there? They must be having like an early warm-up game or something between two other sides. Because by the looks of it, it's just kicked off. But I think we are 10 minutes away from the start of this matchup. There is a side wearing white, and there's a side wearing blue. And you would have to assume that that's not the game that we're supposed to be commentating. Because if it is, we are way back in the terms of the camera angle. We got the way up in the stand angle for this one. But yeah, this game's going to be intriguing. Do let me know your score predictions for the match, of course, ladies and gentlemen. There is going to be, I would think, a lot of points scored again. It just seems to be the case with these URC early round games. Sides slowly seem to find their defence as the season does wear on, but that is all right because we get a lot of excitement in the earlier stages. And I don't think it is just the URC that we're going to see high-scoring games throughout this weekend. Stormers 42, Ospreys 15. Says Big Rig. Hope it's not an underwhelming game, says Justin. Yeah, it would be a shame if the first game of the weekend does start a little bit rough, but, every once in a while there will be that poor game too. I hope it's not this one, though. The fact that Ospreys managed to score themselves 40 points in their losing effort, like that either makes you extremely determined here, or maybe you just feel like, rugby sucks at times when you are scoring that many points. They actually got more points than the Stormers, but in terms of the table, like I mentioned, they are sitting top of the bunch, the Stormers, after that massive win. And looking at what is to come for these two sides, for the Stormers, they have got the Scarlets next week. That game's going to be taking place on Saturday morning, New Zealand time. Then they have got Zebre and then Benetton. So a few games away from home in a row. Some would say it's not the hardest run at the moment for the Stormers in terms of what games they have got coming up over the next 3 weeks. But it is once they get into November, it starts getting a little bit more challenging for the Stormers side. In terms of the Ospreys, what they have got coming up, they are playing Zebre, Glasgow, and then also the Dragons, a Welsh derby, for that match in 21 days' time now. And once again, those are those crucial games that you have to get yourself a win. When we look through at the table, the way that it sat last week, there were so many sides that were right on the fringe of making it to that top 8. And I believe in the end, the Ospreys, they did just sneak into that top 8. Or maybe that was the season prior. I know that them and the Lions had a great battle for that last spot in 2024. But they are just talking about the DHL Stadium. It's actually not a bad crowd for this match. I would say Stadium's about between 10 and 15% full. In fact, maybe a little bit less than that. But for a URC game at the moment, that seems to be, that's a decent enough crowd. It is always hard to get people going to these early round games when certain sides, such as the Stormers, are missing some of their international players. But these are the two games we did see them play. The Stormers getting themselves the big win, 35-0. The Bulls, 53 points to 40. Now, the Bulls are going to be playing up against Leinster. So it'll be intriguing to see how those two sides match up. Definitely now that Leinster have had that nil out of their system. Most underwhelming rugby game award goes to Ireland versus England. The 1960s, where the rain and the mud was so bad, nobody could run. Game ended 0-0 at a snail's pace. Nice. Well, luckily, it doesn't look too wet out there, although we have seen some pretty wet games from Cape Town. I wonder how many of you remember that Sevens final between, I believe it was New Zealand and Samoa, only about 2 or so years ago, where the field was pretty much flooded, and to be able to score a try, you had to hold your breath because you were pretty much going diving every time they went into that try area. I think 12 points to 7 may have been the end score there, and it might have even been the Samoans who managed to pull off the win in Cape Town. Now they aren't even on the circuit. They aren't even in Division 2 either. They've been well and truly relegated, Samoa now. Unfortunately, hello from some Cape Townian. Says Storm, welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. Good evening from Cape Town. Says Jeremy there as well. But yeah, hopefully you guys are excited to see the Stormers in action yet again. They have a lot of pressure on them after getting 35-0. They have to back it up with a solid type of showing, but they are a team that have a lot of potential. You look across this back line, the pace of Sanatla out on one wing, also Lilion Zas out on the other. We have got hello, Hamish, hello everyone. Hope you're doing well. See Sebastian, welcome in, mate. Hope you are doing extremely well and hope you're excited for the weekend of rugby. Of course, since last week, we've actually had the confirmation about the Rugby World Cup draw, the 3rd of December. It's when that one is going to be taking place, and that will determine where the sides are going to be playing for that Rugby World Cup. Oh, the screen just went black for a second, but we are back already. In that URC TV, I'm not sure whether or not they would have expected so many people tuning in for round number 1. It did seem to have a few technical difficulties for the big day on Sunday morning for us here in New Zealand. But it does seem to run not too badly overall. But yeah, that World Cup draw, I have a feeling there's got to be one team that gets a really bad draw. And I don't know who it's going to be. Honestly, it could be either Argentina or Australia, because whoever ends up missing out on that top 6 will get themselves a top contender in their group. We have got their Stormers 41 to the Ospreys 24 as Stormzy's prediction there. So I haven't seen many low-scoring predictions. In fact, we've seen 42 for the Stormers, we've seen 41, and we've seen 42. So everyone's feeling like the Stormers are getting in that 40-point range. And the Ospreys, the most that we've seen them given was actually 24. We have to wait and see whether or not that is close to the real scoreline. Like I mentioned, quite a few people in the stands watching this game, which is fantastic to see. Hopefully they will keep on piling in the attendance as the season does wear on. This is also the last home game that we are going to see for the Stormers in a few weeks. They will want to finish on a high, and if they can get their points differential anywhere upwards of 50 by the time they are leaving, going to be massive. And Fiji, Wales and Australia will have to end up in the same group. It's tradition by this point. Yeah, they always seem to. Although, how far down are Wales? If Wales are outside of that second group of 6, that's a possibility, isn't it? Although Fiji may actually be there by the end of the November internationals. It all depends on what happens in a couple of those games, whether or not certain sides get that nice little boost. Tomorrow there's a load of free rugby on, both Rugby Championship games on Sky, Sports Mix and Munster vs Cardiff on TG4. I never knew Tonian was a person, says Stormzy there. They are just doing the introduction of the two sides as they get ready to make their way out onto the field. The first of 2 games that we are covering tonight. So be sure to stick around. Those guys are dressed for Halloween by the looks of it. Got the clown masks. 21 degrees Celsius for this matchup with 22 kilometres of wind and humidity of 49%. So it's not the hottest that it has been in South Africa lately, but it also is a lot hotter than we're getting here. I think we're sitting about 6 degrees Celsius at the moment, and it's been raining all day. But luckily, that's not the case for Cape Town Stadium. They are just showing the starting lineup, so we will, of course, be doing the same. Looking through for the Stormers, some key players across this four back. Evan Ruiz in that number 8 jersey, as well as Tennyson and Connor Evans to make up that loose forward trio. Ruan now and Dan Duplessis can add a lot in that centre pairing, but it is the speed of the back three with Sanatla alongside Lilion Zas and also Similani getting that chance as the number 15 here. In terms of this Ospreys starting lineup, they have got a few international caliber players in their side. Tokana Singer in the midfield. Alongside it will be Kieran Williams. It looks like there are a few Ospreys supporters in the stands, which is fantastic to see, but they've got those Welsh players up front. 100 caps for Gareth Thomas in this game as well, so a big milestone for him. And then the experience of Ross Moriarty in that number 8 jersey. We've got there, they took quality a little literally, and both the Wales men and women's team are ranked 12th in the world rankings. They'd have to be the only, New Zealand at the moment. They are both ranked number 3, aren't they? So I guess New Zealand fall into that category. I wonder how many other sides around the world have got that same ranking. You'd have to go a little bit lower than the top 5, wouldn't you? Although France 4th in both, that might be the same too. I think there's actually probably more teams when we think about it than you first anticipate. We have got there, Hayno, I said, hi Hamish, welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. And we have got there Spain at number 14. Says Big Rig, I want Belgium to be in the World Cup because why not? I guess that's a fair enough reason, isn't it? And I do think that the thing is, Belgium come into those repercharge games as a bit of an underdog. because a lot of people want to see either Samoa or Namibia make their way in. Honestly, the World Cup won't feel like a World Cup without both of them, and that sounds weird to say, but they've just been such a staple of the last, I don't even know how long, the last at least few World Cups that we have seen. And excited to see Spain in the World Cup. I think there are only 3. Says Big Rig and Belgium versus Zimbabwe in a World Cup final would be wild. It would be. Even if it's a round of 16 game, it would be an incredible one to see. We have got greetings from Irania. Hamish says, good heart, welcome in. And doing well, thanks yourself. Says, Ano, doing well. Excited for this weekend. We see there 100th appearance for Devold Divanacha also bringing up that milestone. So Gareth Thomas, not the only man, get into the 100 in this game. And spamming bots, I actually missed them, my old mates. Says Sebastian. We've been having a few. It's normally around the Rugby Championship that they do pop up, and they have certainly not been disappointing throughout the last little while. And I'm for an Ospreys win, says Hayno. So they do come in as quite big underdogs, but then saying that, you know, the Stormers were underdogs in that first game up against Leinster. Whether they should have been or not, I think is a different story, but anything can happen. We got a lot of emojis and whatnot from FFGYT and there as well. And I, Hamish, I took a photo of the Shark Stadium for you from where I live. Says, cool story. And I was very good there, Hamish, your favourite video game. Oh, sorry, hey, Sebastian, sorry, wasn't asking me. Good there, what's South Africa versus France in the finals? I hope that, the thing is, there are a few matches in that World Cup that we have to see again. I think that South Africa-Ireland would be great to see. New Zealand versus France, I feel like that is another one, and maybe vice versa. Like those 4 quarter-finalists that did play on the same side, the opposite side of the draw. If they somehow face each other at some stage, would be very exciting. The Box take the cup tomorrow. They do, as long as they get a singular point, because New Zealand are not beating Australia by like 70 points for that game in Perth. So as long as the South Africans get some form of point and win, winning's of course a massive bonus there, but they don't have to really win by a massive margin. They can just cruise in that game, and the last thing that they will want is some sort of Pumas upset to happen along the way. Favorite series is Assassin's Creed. Generally stealth-based games is what I go for. See, I'm no good at stealth-based games because it takes me too long. I once sat in a bush for like 10 minutes playing Hitman. Didn't move. Just sat there waiting when I was supposed to move and never did. So I think I take I'm good at hide and seek on those type of games because they just never find me. But Ospreys, they will be kicking off this one from right to left as we are underway for another round of the United Rugby Championship, and chasing after this one hard as the Ospreys going up for the ball and knocking it back onto their side, and the away team have got first possession in this contest. That is exactly what they would have wanted at the start of this game, going off to the right. A little flat pop pass up into the hands of James Ratty. And I love Metal Gear, Solid, Dishonored, and I never know how to say that word, but X. I know how to say that one now. Nice step on the outside. A good run from Kasinde. Back across to the right-hand side, Hardy. Some quick hands. Oh, that's a big collision between Dewey Lake and Niddling Fouchier. Has dragged him down with a shot almost round the head, to be fair. Now, good tackle low on Keelan Giles. Little grubber attempted him behind by the Ospreys, and that one will just go into touch. I don't know if that was the right move there. Day Us X says a big rig. Should have backed Ospreys. They look so good, says Hano. Yeah, starting this match really well, but then once again just kicking it away at the wrong time there. They had gone for a few more phases. It made quite a big difference there. I want France. I think statistically they match us the best as South Africa, says Hano. And back the Stormers on my Super Brew. Says Hano there, and I am and everyone, says Lily B. Welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. The Stormers at the moment, they are 10 metres out from their line, and already we've seen another massive collision between a hooker and a prop, and a penalty goes the way of the Ospreys. So then just the 10 metres out from the line, it is way off to the side though. So I would say that Dewey Lake might get a little bit of a chance here at a rolling maul. But the start of this match, again, seems like the Ospreys, they are doing the same thing as what they did in the last contest up against the Bulls. And it is trying to take it to them a little bit early here. The big collision between Dewey Lake and Andre Hugo Fenta. And then, they've said that he was just out of there enough. It would be typical for the Stormers to beat Leinster to lose to the Ospreys. Has anyone tried the new MGS? Looks decent. See, I'm that out of the gaming scene at the moment. I don't even know what MGS stands. Oh, wait, no, that'll be Metal Gear, won't it? Maybe. Oh, this is close to the line. Just 2 meters short here for the Ospreys. The rolling maul dragged down Kieran Hardy. Looking to the right-hand side. He was considering going to the short side, but there's about a meter there. Now off to the right. Kieran Hardy pops it up into the hands of Dewey Lake again. Just a couple meters out from the try line. Pick and go from Hardy. He scores the try. And the Ospreys on the board first. You don't even remember what I said last week, says Mohadeen. You said quite a few things last week, Mohadeen. Which one are you talking about specifically? But Kieran Hardy managing to score himself the try here. And that is exactly the start to the match that they would have been after here, the Ospreys. Yes, the occasion is a big one, but they managed to handle the Loftus crowd early. Here we go, South by Capcom. CSGO story, and also, yes, it's MGS Delta. It's good because it's a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, which is great. Says Big Rig. And Try says Big Rig. Now lining up this kick 3 minutes into the contest, and already we have seen the Ospreys get themselves a try. We have their Solid Snake could be on the pitch right now, just hiding somewhere, says Big Rick. And try Ospreys. Wanted to put money on that, says Sebastian. It's just that early penalty going against the Stormers. The kick missing away to the side, so that will keep the score now sitting as 5-0 in favour of the Ospreys. But a good start to this match for the away side. And remember, I don't support the Springboks anymore, says Mohadeen. Yeah, because they didn't play Andre Pollard, wasn't it? So that is why you've decided not to support them. You probably picked a bad time not to support them. They're playing some of their best rugby. 110 points across their last 2 games. And the last 2 times that they played the Pumas, they've scored 115. So they're doing pretty well at the moment. And beginners like Stormers will turn around and start spanking. Start spanking's an interesting way of wording it. And sure, says Jamie, I have a very good record. Well, they have a very good record versus the Stormers, says Hano. Yeah, see, that's one thing that I didn't have this week was the head-to-heads. I had it last week. And somehow completely forgot about it for these matchups. But a nervous-looking John Dobson, the director of rugby for the Stormers. Now ready to throw this ball in. They are currently sitting 40 metres out from their own line here, the Stormers, or in fact from the opposition line. A big throw across from Divanacha. Hello all, I will be at the Bledisloe test today, says Rory. Yeah, should be a good one. Is the weather looking a bit rough, Rory, in terms of the forecast? I know that someone was saying that it could end up being a bit of a wet game, but that may have also been the Argentina versus South Africa match. What's your prediction for the Australia versus New Zealand? Who wins? I did go New Zealand. What did I go? New Zealand 38-23, I think, was my score prediction for that game. It's bad when you forget your own score predictions, isn't it? But I think that was it. I think I went New Zealand by 15, but they'll have to do very well to be able to win by that margin. Did Stormers ever win against the Ospreys? I believe they've got one win up against this Ospreys team, if I remember rightly. And also we have got their looks like rain. Yeah, so hopefully not too heavy. These two sides, they've had a decent scoring rate. And they play at Optus Stadium. 1 win apiece also at the ground. Now, Divanacha back into the middle of the field, finds Dan Duplessis. A little pop pass up here. The Stormers looking to fire straight back after conceding early. Forgotten score predictions are not honest, says Sebastian. I think it's just because there's so many numbers. And also I keep looking up previous head-to-heads or like previous results between the sides. So I get those confused with my prediction. Like I don't know why, but I feel like 38-23 has happened recently between New Zealand and Australia, but I don't think it has. Oh, that's a big driving tackle there from Sinatla. Ends up picking up the leg and driving. The Ospreys, they have still got themselves the ball. Is there much of a crowd at the DHL? I'd say between 5 and 10% of the stadium full for this contest, which is actually not that bad in terms of URC attendance that we've seen in South Africa so far. Now, of course, when those international players start coming back, I would think that the numbers will start increasing. That one's gone what it looked like into touch, but Yuri Matia keeping the ball alive, now claimed inside of the 22 for the Ospreys. Back and forth here early on, but the Stormers just not quite able to get that steal in the breakdown. Stormers 53 to the 19 of the Ospreys. And famously last year, now 2 seasons ago, Stormers lost 20 points to 27, says Hano. And what do the Springboks need to win tomorrow? They just need to win, and they'll win the Rugby Championship. If they get themselves a bonus point, that would be even better. But even if they were to lose the game, theoretically, right, if they were to lose but lose by less than 7 and score 3 or more than the Pumas, if the Pumas go for more of a 3-point orientated game, they can still win the Rugby Championship with those 2 extra points. Do you think the Pumas have a chance? It's pretty tough. This is a strong Springbok lineup, and I do think that, yes, they were competitive in the first half, the Pumas, but that second half was just a whole different ballgame, and it has happened twice now in a row for the South Africans. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. Now, backline movement. Simelane breaking the line. He has got the pass on the outside if he wants to use it, and now manages to find it. Little bit of a spin there from Ruan. Now looking for the offload. It's going to be knocked on, though, by Simelane, or at least it looked that way. And they're going to go back for the knock on. Evan Russ almost able to score himself the try for the Stormers, but we are 8 minutes in at the moment, and they are still down by those 5 points. I think we just heard there from the ref that it's going to be a goal line dropout, which would actually insinuate that the little knock on, what looked like from Simelane, was not, and in fact it was Evan Russ who has been called as a knock on here. We have got there, Hamish, do you think there ought to be a corporal punishment for spammers, says Gavin? I mean, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because they are actually, in a way, they aren't just spammers, but they are also scammers as well, because they're trying to get people to go onto an illegal site, like to try and like hack them. So, I mean, it's definitely not like legal what they do, but then I guess until someone clicks on the link, then it's when it gets illegal, if that makes sense. It's annoying up till that point, but theoretically it's not like as bad as it is, they aren't doing much wrong up until they convince someone to click it. Does that make sense? Or maybe that's just me being too nice. And, most people would say just throw the book at them. I think the Pumas will play running rugby based on the 10 and 9 changes. Says Hano, and yes, raining, says Thomas. And Springboks winning margin tomorrow will be between 52 and 30. Oh, nice little step there from Andre Hugo Fenter. I think the Pumas will win and Australia will win the championship. I hope you remember my prophecy, Hamish. Says cool story. Now only 15 metres out from the line for the Stormers. Divanache. Oh, that's a massive collision. I think they've considered it as just enough of an arm wrap there. It was a very ugly one for Nilling for sheer cross kick attempted from Yuri Matia. Goes into the in-goal area. What a bounce of the ball that is. And Evan Ruiz scores the try. That is the worst nightmare for the Ospreys, the way that ball bounced around in the in-goal area and popped straight into the hands of Evan Ruiz in a position where you'd expect to see a winger, but instead the big man at 8 manages to cross the try line. His punishment should be get tackled by the entire Rugby Championship squad, one after the other, says Big Rig. That would suck. I don't think many people would be signing up for a punishment like that. Oh, that's such an ugly bounce for Giles. He thought he had it controlled, and then from there it pretty much cut back on a sideways angle straight into the hands of Evan Russ. And also, why are some Welsh games on S4C, and others aren't? I actually have no idea what the rights are for S4C. Is it maybe they only show 1 or 2 games a weekend or something like that? And what would the TMO say about scammers? Straight red card bat, says Xander. Well done, Evan, says Casper there, and we warned you. The Spanky was coming, says Big Rig. And Evan Ruiz needs to be in the Springbok squad. Would you stick him in, let's just say, for instance, he was there. Would you put him ahead of Jasper Visser in that number 8 jersey? Or would you have him more so an impact role off the bench? Then I guess in that case, you'd have to have him rather than Kwaka, wouldn't you? He's already cut his arm open here, Evan Ruiz. Looks like a nasty gash down the outside of the elbow. Maybe it's so annoying. I was trying to watch on my phone whilst I'm out. Says Harry. And also we have got there, YouTube will be rolling out agent AI algorithms from December. Automatically removes spammers and scammers. Well, there you go. That'll be handy. At the moment, the moderators, of course, do a very good job. Well, Dan Duplessis might be injured here. He hasn't actually fully recovered from taking a bit of a knock. Now ball is loose. Cleaned up by Yuri Matia, trying to flick pass on the outside to Simelane, who will sink the slipper into it. Go downfield. It's a very good kick. Oh no, in fact, they're going to go back for the knock-on. And you can see there that Simelane's actually disappointed that they haven't decided to go back for his kick here. Although they're trying to work out whether it was inside or outside of that 22, so that might be why they did go back. Well, Jasper versus Russ. Fair comparison, says Xander. And because as well documented, YouTube algorithms are amazing and always work. And Craig from Simba, tell you what, my tongue's getting in the wrong place today. St. Francis Bay in the Eastern Cape. South Africa's back, says Craig there. Do you think Pollard is leaving the Springboks? Nah. He'll be around for another 5 years in a Springbok kit, Andre Pollard, just because at the moment they are going through a patch where they are using more so Marty Libok and Sasha Fainberg and Zulu. Doesn't mean that they will always not have a spot for Andre Pollard. In fact, this is probably close to the most times when Pollard's been in the squad without any sort of injury that he hasn't had too many chances. How many red cards does Rus have from headbutts? I don't know if he's got... Oh, no, he's got a few red cards. I was about to say I don't know if he's got any from a headbutt, but he's got a few yellow cards from late shots after a guy scored a try. He dropped an elbow into one just to make sure that he was down. But now big scrum from the Stormers, and they've got themselves the penalty from it as well, just on their own 22. Be happy enough with that first big push from the front rows. Matongo, Andre Hugo Fente, and Nettling for sheer. Now 13 minutes in, Yuri Matia, chance to be able to kick this one towards the sideline. One try apiece for these two sides. If you get yourself 4, even if you lose, you do get a bonus point. The Ospreys did experience that last week. Rus just fell on the ball. Old Matia's try, or Matia's try with that clever kick. And yeah, also, you know, that bounce of the ball doesn't get much better than that. Like, that could have kicked towards the dead ball line. That could have set up in an awkward way. And I think both of those other two would have benefited Keelan Giles. The one that didn't benefit him was the fact that it went straight down the breadbasket of Evan Rus. Evan and Jasper are very similar in terms of quality. It's almost a shame South Africa has so much depth. Oh, penalty this time going the way of the Ospreys. We're not releasing, going against the Stormers. And we have got there, it's almost a shame South Africa has so much depth in the loose forwards that a guy like Evan is left out. Do you think he deserves more chances though? I think that the trickiest part for Evan Rus was there was something that happened behind the scenes. And I think it was something to do with his father ringing Rassi or talking to Rassi and saying that you're not playing my boy enough. And then from there, Rassi said, okay, well, he can play in the URC. And I think now that Vess is back, as well as the fact that they have got 3 other number 8s in Honeycomb, Yano Augustus, and also they have got, who's the other one? Elric Lowe. I think that Rus is going to be one of those guys that really struggles to get into the team because the one thing we know about Rassi is he can hold a grudge. And if something has happened behind the scenes, he, for as long as the time that he is in that Springbok coaching role, we may never see Evan Rus in the environment again. Now, I'd like to think that that would be a bit too severe and that we would see him back at some point, but, you know, you just never really know. We have the hi, Hamshin, everyone. Says, Rio, welcome in. You look very angry now, says Mohadeen. Do I? I feel like you're very good at reading emotion, Mohadeen. Perhaps you should be a psychiatrist because you normally tell me when I'm looking sad and when I'm looking angry. Now, to be fair, they're normally wrong, but, you know, if you train at it, psychiatrist role could be in your future. Oh, wait. So he got his dad to call in and fight his battles? No, I think that his dad did it without Evan Rus knowing or something along those lines. There was a whole story about it and it's only like rumors as well as a little bit of info about it. But yeah, apparently his dad is very much almost like you'd say a Saturday father. You know, the one who always says to the coach, hey, put my boy in for a little bit more game time. And yeah, I don't think Rassi liked it very much. But now getting a little bit closer to the try line here, the Ospreys looking for another rolling maul. That ball's been tied up. But it will come out the back for Kieran Hardy, the lone try scorer for the Ospreys at this stage of the contest, getting it into the hands of Hugh Sutton. Imagine your dad calling your work and yelling at your boss. I'll be so embarrassed, he's big rig. And yeah, the thing is, if Evan Rus didn't know that was happening right, every time he doesn't make a squad now, he'll be thinking, was that because of that? I think Australia will win tomorrow. It will be a tough game, but they have their best chance, I would say, at Optus Stadium. And they're relatively close to the odds too. Kieran Hardy, little sniping run, great tackle made by, I think it was Evan Rus, just short of the try line. Now just a couple metres from it for the Ospreys. Looking to go over the top. He may fall down. No, just short. Now, once again, Ospreys looking to shift this one to the right-hand try, or right-hand side, I should say, and trying to get it out wide. Was offside, though, from Similani. In fact, note number 10, initially, Yuri Matia is the man who has been penalised for that one. Even Vincent Tchuka was on a high a few years ago, says Aino. Well, Vincent Tchuka, I'll be honest, if Peter Steph Toy wasn't in that number 7 jersey, I think that Vincent Tchuka would already have that jersey again. Because his debut, which wasn't the official debut, but he had a slight debut up against the Barbarians, got himself 2 tries, came into the actual Springboks debut and got himself another try, and just looks like a real deal. Like you see him at the Sharks, and we're going to get to see him in only a few hours' time. He just looks like a leader for that side. Reece Henry showing him there, 40 caps under his belt. He looks like he's nursing a bit of an injury at the moment, and in fact, he might make his way from the field for an HIA by the looks of this. Rasi is very ethical. He will select on merit, not on third-party advice. Says Casper, and also we have got there, I am an Australian citizen, but was born and raised in South Africa. Says Rory. And there are a lot of South Africans in Perth, aren't there? So I do think that even for that New Zealand versus Australia game, we probably will see a little bit of the green and gold in the stands, and not the one for the Wallabies. People showing their support for the South Africans heading towards their final game. Rassi and Razor, very much the same. They are ethical, correct on their selections, says Casper. Now 5 metres out from the line again, the Ospreys. Another chance to go for this line out. Dewey Lake yet to score himself a try in this game, but he would certainly like to. Won't be able to watch the Springboks game tomorrow. I'm going out, says Mohadin. Are you going to be back in time for the Bulls Leinster, Mohadin? Because that is, of course, a big game taking place pretty much straight after. That looked like an early engagement at the line-out time from the Stormers, but no advantage just as of yet from the referee. Now breaking off the back, Evan Rus, or in fact it's Yuri Matia, the man who got penalised initially, manages to get over the ball and win the turnover just a couple metres out from his own try line, a crucial one for the Stormers. We now sit 17 and a half minutes through, and they are still sitting even, these two sides 5-5. And yes, says Mohadin. And do you think the former Chiefs coach, that Munster, could be the next All Blacks coach? I assume you're talking about Clayton McMillan, aren't you? Maybe. I do see that Jamie Joseph is also in charge of the All Blacks XV team, and he's actually mentioned about how they're going to be working alongside Razor in terms of building up a little bit of depth, but he has also said that he wouldn't mind that head coach job if it became available. So yeah, it'll be intriguing. I feel like there'll be a little bit of competitiveness going on for New Zealand between the All Blacks and the All Blacks XV. But to me, that's a good thing. You know, you want to have two sides, or at least two coaches in the running at least, just to have a bit more pressure. A bunch of atheists today, because neither side can make a conversion. Says Big Rig, you're currently sitting 5 points to 5, and we have got their win of the Stormers' last score. They managed to score in around the 13th minute, I believe it was, with a try of Evan Rus. But now at the moment, it's in the hands of the Ospreys. A good wrestle going on in the breakdown at the moment. And I think JD Schickerling, the biggest problem for him was he was doing a lot of push and shove, but never quite ended up with the ball, and that one's going into touch. And it will be the Ospreys who have got themselves the line out. There's a dangerous option, Daniel Kasende. Just gets smashed in the tackle initially by Marcel Tennyson. In fact, it was Connor Evans who put in that hit and still managed to just keep that ball on their side, though. Oh, Stormers ball at line-out time. There was a touch of the Ospreys last. Now, another chance. Get something moving here. When is the All Blacks XV playing? They are playing in November as well. I think they're playing the first 2 weeks of November, maybe. But they have got... Who have they got? I think they played Japan XV. In fact, I'll have a quick look and find out for the November internationals. It's crazy to think that November's just around the corner, by the way. Oh, they play the Barbarians. That is on the 2nd of November. And then also they play up against England A. And that is their only 2 games. So those... You know, the Barbars game will be interesting, seeing as so many sides have got international players. Oh, bit of a rough pass from Tivanachi. And Rus is a good Lucy, like many we have in South Africa, but if all fit, It is Visa, Honeycomb, Elric, Jean-Luc Dupre, and Proki Marco, Quagga, Marcel Marco, and then Rus. Says Eric. And more of Piatti's whistle tomorrow, says Yuri. Yeah, he has got that big job of refereeing South Africa versus Argentina. Hopefully we'll do a good job. I know that he's one of the more criticised referees around, and sometimes you can understand why. Get a Kiwi rugby ball in your stocking. Says Big Rig. It'll be Christmas soon. Yeah, I think we're under 90 days till Christmas, aren't we? In fact, we're much less than 90. That is close to the sideline. Okay, there was a forward pass from the Ospreys. Do you think, or what do you think of the games, or next year's games? How many have been announced? I assume you're talking about the tour between South Africa and New Zealand. I think it's going to be big for those two countries, although I do feel sorry for Argentina and Australia because, you know, now they have to try and work out what they're going to do with their international window. But the good news is it doesn't affect the World Cup draw because we're already going to get to see it. Can you believe it's July already? It is well and truly past that July mark. You got a bit of a story there from Casper. I do see it involves St. Helens and whatnot. We've got possession at the moment just in favour of the Stormers, 56% for this team. I feel like if they can just get down the right end of the field in the next little while, they will be more than happy with that. But the ball is fed in by Tivanache. And, front rows both going down, so referee does want the reset. We're already 22 minutes through this game, and I do feel like because of what is happening this weekend, these URC games are going to absolutely fly by. There's only sitting about 16 hours till we get to see New Zealand versus Australia, and then we are sitting only about 20 hours away from that South Africa versus Argentina game too. Now another scrum feed. Matongo going up against Reece Henry in this scenario, or he would have been had Henry been able to continue in this game. Now he is actually facing the replacement tight head for the Ospreys. Tivanache ready to put this ball in. Scrums have actually been quite strong from the Stormers, so the South African supports are shifting our alliance, spawning the filthy Australians tomorrow. Says Xander. It's actually a bit insane how often teams have had to change who they're going for throughout this rugby championship as their second side. Because, you know, you look at that game at Eden Park, and I saw there were a lot of South Africans going for New Zealand. There were also a few going for Australia, although statistically, had Australia won that game, it would have actually been more unlikely for South Africa to win the rugby championship. That one hasn't found touch from Yuri Matea. Tried to get every metre possible. And 5 metres out from the line, Ospreys kicking it now to Dutch off Jack Welsh. But, yeah, I do think that this rugby championship, because of the unpredictability and the fact that sides have won games and then lost them, it's just caused a lot of indecisiveness across the fans of the competition in terms of who to support out so much for a high-scoring game. Not over yet, is all I'll say. These two sides have got a lot of potential to ramp it up in the second half, and I do think they're still in their feeling out process. And the Ospreys, they were pretty handy up against the Bulls. They managed to slow them down in the early stages as well. Yuri Matea, man of the match, one game. Next game, he is useless. Says, hey, no, well, that's the thing. He's gone from a perfect cross kick into the hands of Evan Rus to missing touch. So it's one of those ones how he's probably helped them get a try, but maybe you could argue cost them a try chance for that last mistake. Now Yuri Matea with the big cellar dummy tackled by Ross Moriarty. Does complain that he was taken past the ball. Gives a little bit of a smile there to Lelion Zas. And Tivanache popping it in behind Similani. Every time he joins the line here, he just looks dangerous. Not a lot of release there from the Ospreys when they were going for the turnover and the breakdown. Now Niling Fauchier. Back across to the right again. Nice step. Still keeping this ball alive. Yuri Matea with the skip pass onto the outside. Sinatla was going to test out his pace, but it does hit the Ospreys player, Jack Walsh. We'll go back for the line out. It's going to be South Africa first time win the 2 in the row championship. Says Mohadeen at the moment they are the heavy favourites to go on to win the rugby championship. Now, unless something drastic happens, which, to be fair, if there was ever a rugby championship for it to happen, it would be this one, just because we have seen all the games 1-1 in terms of their head-to-heads. was trying to hold back that sneeze for a good 30 seconds. It was not working. This game has my interest, but tomorrow's game will definitely be the cherry on the cake. For the box, says Jeremy. Yeah, it will be absolutely massive. Dowie Lake now. Going off to the left-hand side. Another pick and go there from the Stormers. Oh, almost a steal there on the breakdown from the Ospreys. Have you been following the Women's Cricket World Cup? I actually haven't. I'm a bit behind in terms of a lot of sport. But what I am planning to do is after... Oh, that was almost the offload chance for the Stormers. But yeah, after the international rugby, because we go back to just a bit of URC for a while, and then the Sevens kicks back in during that about 3-week break where there isn't a lot of internationals, that's when I'm probably going to catch up on a lot of things that I've missed. The likes of the Cricket World Cup as well as the NRL playoffs, a bit of golf as well. All trying to get the steal in the breakdown. Again, the Ospreys just can't quite get it, but there's a little knock on in the breakdown from Duvanaki. Disappointed with that one. Yuri Matea is not currently on the right level to play in these leagues. Whereas about 10 or 15 minutes ago when he did that cross kick, everyone was saying how strong he is. It just shows how quickly the opinion can change. But yeah, just a little knock on from Duvanaki there. And the breakdown, not quite able to control that ball. Looks like now both sides have got players down, so they are going to have the coaches and the medics run onto the field. Looks like a big drinks break is going to be taking place, so I might as well join in. Looks like Dewey Lake also has a bit of a bleeding ear. England won the Women's World Cup, or let me say Ali Kildum won the game for England, says Casper. Yeah, see, the Canadians weren't quite as close in that World Cup final as I would have liked to see. I wanted to see it be a little bit more going down to the wire, but England in front of the home crowd just seemed to control it. They've won one of their last 6 games, the Ospreys, they've just shown there. What time is it over there? Says Hano, at the moment it is 6:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. I think they're going on to much about Sasha Feinberg after one great game. Is he really the best number 10 now? Tricky one, because he had the same thing happen for him with the Stormers last year. He had a phenomenal 10 out of 10 game, and everyone then said this is the best number 10 in the world, and then from there he had a 3 out of 10, a 4 out of 10, and a 3 out of 10 for his next 3 games, and debatably cost them the URC playoffs. Or at least I think it was, or it might have been the games before the playoffs, that he had that situation. So, you know, there's a lot of pressure on him now. And it's either going to make him into an even greater player, or we could see the Pumas try and really shut him down in this game. Yuri is a mix of good and bad, like Marnie was for many years, says Eric. Now, big push there from the Stormers in the opposing scrum, and a massive fib from Moriarty, getting rid of Yuri Matea. All balls available. Duvanaki had it, but then knocked on by Evan Rus. Just a mistake there from the Stormers. After doing very well to get that ball back, if New Zealand wins the championship, I really think all will be forgiven, no matter how disappointed Kerwin pretends to be. Says, cool story, and also we have got the Yuri as a mix. Oh no, I read that one, didn't I? And evening, Hamish, and everyone tuning in, rugby, says Ruth, and on Johnny Blaze is in the air as well, going, let's go for the Stormers. Yeah, nice early morning start for yourself, Johnny. Apparently 12 minutes remaining in this first half. It is still sitting 5 points to 5. It's been a low-scoring kind of contest between these two teams, although that does not mean that the second half won't be a lot higher. Player stats at the moment, we've seen 5 tackles made by Ross Moriarty, gain line success, just the one. I give it to England women. They were close to winning in previous World Cups and never gave up. I do, however, fancy Canada, says Casper. Yeah, Canada were kind of the feel-good story of that World Cup in some regards in terms of making it to the playoffs and getting further than they did in the last comp. But sadly just didn't quite have enough to take down the Red Roses. Now shuffling that ball on for the Ospreys, going into the hands of Kasende down the wing. He's got a ton of pace. Ball on the inside. That is beautifully done by the Ospreys. And Kieran Hardy has the double. Now no one was predicting that for this game. I mean, wake since 3 a.m. doing quotes, because when the kids wake up, I can't hear myself think. That's the only time I get peace, says Johnny Blaze. Hey, I agree, you need to be consistent rather than have one great game, then a 3 out of 10 the next. But now the pace of Kasende. Then just that pass on the inside to Kieran Hardy. It was the perfect draw and pass. Simalani unfortunately found himself in the 2-and-1 scenario. Yeah, Kasende, he's got plenty of pace. And then just running it hard there for Kieran Hardy. Now getting ready to line up this kick here. The Ospreys, they are ahead by the 5. This would give them the lead of 7. Striking it, that one, and a little bit better, but it hits the post and comes back out, so the score will still remain with no conversions from either sides, and 10 points to 5 in favour of the Ospreys. Duvenaki just not quite having that pace that he needed, and similarly, he had no options there. He had to go to the wide man. He's hoping that maybe Sanutla would be able to get across in time, but there was no catching Hardy when he was through that gap. Ali Kildona's probably get Women's Rugby Player of the Year again. And for the men, I'll probably be Sasha. So they've already actually given the women's awards, I believe, and it did go to Braxton Sorensen McGee, I believe, got Women's Player of the Year. And then for the breakout player, it was... Who got breakout player? In fact, no, it might have been Sophie DeGoody who got the Player of the Year. Maybe Braxton Sorensen McGee got breakout, I think, were the two. 2-4 passes. Here's Johan there. And also calling Derbs tonight by our standards. So here's cool story. It's probably still about 20 degrees though, is it? Andre Hugafenta throwing this ball in now. Going short side. Evan Rossi needed to pass that. But he got a little bit greedy towards the try line and gets driven into touch. And Andre Hugafenta with him, but took the collision and gets driven over the sideline. We have good there, Hamish. You're looking so sweet, baby. Have a good time, says Ruth. And the weekend, it is certainly going to be a good time with the amount of rugby that we got coming up. Oh, they've decided to take it quickly there, the Ospreys. They have got that ball now, 10 metres out. Yeah, it's kind of working. Says cool story. And I turned away for 5 minutes and the Ospreys are winning. Yeah, they've had a decent start to this game. They're sitting 10 points to 5 up. They managed to score themselves 40 points last week in the losing effort. I mentioned about it. They actually had the 3rd most points out of any side, just behind Ulster and also behind the Bulls. But they did lose that matchup up against the Bulls, which had 93 points scored amongst it. We see there Justin Chipperick at the moment in that coaching box for the Ospreys. South African women cricket team got bowled out for 69 in the World Cup match against England today. Says Xander. Yeah, a bit rough for the Protea ladies. Is this match on TV? I assume it is. It's on URC TV for us here in New Zealand. Now JD Schickerling with the short ball into the hands of Marcel Tiena. Sydney hold him up and it's stolen now by Dewey Lake. That looked like an illegal clean out from the Ospreys. Ball goes sideways, says the ref, so it is going to be play on again here. Crowd are not happy with that one. Puma sharpening their claws. A Bok painting their hooves, says Ruth. Still in the hands of this Ospreys team. They've got themselves the 5-point lead, but I don't think that will be enough. We actually saw them lead by more than 5 up against the Bulls. Go on to lose that game. Kieran Hardy puts it high now. New Zealand and Kangaroos will tangle. So here's Ruth, nicely taken. Now sitting just out, or just inside, I should say, of the 22. Or sorry, inside of the halfway line. Now kneeling for sheer, another step from the big man. Tivanaki rolling this one back. Only a partial charge down attempt from Hugh Sutton. Going up for the high ball, nicely taken by Lelion Zas. And now the Stormers got it themselves another attack, and Jans Matongo shoveling it on to Yuri Matea. A lot of pace here. Simalani gets through one. Moriarty, beautiful inside ball to Yuri Matea. Down he goes. Looking for the turnover, and the breakdown was Giles. And did England score 420? Says Big Rig there. And Mike Champion Springboks are going to F up the Pumas by 80 points. Says Johnny. Yes, I went with the box by 25. And I do hope I'm wrong. I hope it's a close game and it has some sort of excitement heading down to the wire. But there is a chance that South Africa just do run through that game. Braxton will get the award next year. Says Casper there. There is an advantage for a knock-on now against the Stormers. They're handling, letting them down early here. And now the step in the middle of the field from Thokana Singer. Kicking it in behind. And well picked up by Ruan now. Looking to sing his opposite number now. Nice step there from now. Chipping in behind. This ball makes it up for him. Yes, it does. And he's going to be tackled well. Kieran Hardy trying to get onto the ball. That is going to be his now for the Ospreys. Yep, the Stormers told to leave that one, and it will be on the side of the Ospreys. It didn't look like there was a lot of a release there from Kieran Hardy, although to his credit, he then ended up letting go and then going back in, but didn't end up winning that penalty. But I would like to see that breakdown again, because it did look like he was slightly too eager to get in there. We're going to see the chip and chase from Ruan now. Right, we're going to see it now. So Kieran Hardy dives on him. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of release there from Kieran Hardy. And good evening all, says Pleasure and clearly different rules for the Stormers and the Ospreys, says Johan. Where's Mornay Stain still playing? He is not playing. I believe he is coaching at the moment. Mornay Stain. Which is always nice to see those ex-players having some sort of coaching opportunities. Currently 34 and a half minutes through this game. And now the Ospreys, they have got themselves a scrum feed. The cheerleaders are all in attendance for this matchup. The Stormers still supporting their side. Quite a few of the new kits in the stands. Of course, the logo change for this season of the URC. It's been a physical type of first half between these two teams. There is still work to be done. Dale Steyn also coaching, I think. Yeah, I think he's doing a little bit of cricket coaching, isn't he? Dale Steyn. We have got there, great. And Mornay, was it Goa? Yeah, goat. Says Ruth. Yes, the beautiful Stormers cheerleaders, I remember them. Says Johnny Blaze. So far, we've seen handling errors 4 from the Stormers compared to the 3 of the Ospreys. So that is what has really been hurting them throughout this match just at this point in time. No one plays in hot pink, says Big Rig. Unfortunately, our women's cricket is not quite there yet. Our women's rugby is definitely getting there. Have been awarded professional status in South Africa, says Casper. Yeah, so hopefully by that next Women's World Cup, we're going to get to see some great stuff from the Springbok women's side. Penalty this time goes the way of the Stormers at scrum time. That is on the far side, so that'll be against the replacement front rower, Tom Bota. And that one, it's 40-ish metres out in front of the post, so it is a kickable 3 if they want it. But I just don't know if they're... in fact, no, they are going to take it here, the Stormers. Maybe feeling like it hasn't quite gone their way throughout this half, so just looking to get towards half-time with as little of a gap between the two sides as possible. Mornay Stain is kicking coach for the Lions. And you cannot contest for the ball if you are the tackler without clear release. Penalty for the Stormers. This game is rigged, says Johan. I did mention it at the time that I thought maybe not a lot of release from Kieran Hardy. But the penalty now going the way of the Stormers, and Yuri Matia missing away to the side. That's an interesting call by the ref. Says, hey, no there. My son's watched Mornay Stain goal kicking videos. He said, he's this old guy, he looked trash. Youngsters don't know these legends, man, it's crazy, says Johnny Blaze. Yeah, the accuracy of Mornay Stain, definitely something that your son would love to have, I'm sure. But it sounds like he's getting there. And to be fair, I did watch the Canadian Women's Rugby World Cup side, and they did have a lot kicking at the post. So maybe, he could still have that kick and tee if he wants it, even if he is outside of that number 10, or even out of that back line. Going off to the left-hand side now. Chance here for the Ospreys on the counter-attack. Little chip in behind. In fact, that one's going to go out on the full. Just a bit too much juice on that one from the Ospreys with Edwards. Now it gives the Stormers another attacking chance. We have there. What are they wearing? The cheerleaders, mini skirts and G-strings. Twang. Where's the male cheerleaders? No shirts and leather shorts, says Ruth. Well, they had a bit more than just the G-string on. They probably, to be fair, I think they did have the mini skirts part of that equation. Remember the Sharks flashes? They were banned. Says cool story. Andro Hugo Fenta. Going in now, 40 metres out from the line here for the Stormers, and the ball is in the hands of Evan Russ. Ospreys winning at halftime. Cats and dogs live in harmony. A mass hysteria, says Big Rig. Mini skirts and G-bangers, yes please. I remember when I had to ask you guys what a G-banger was on the live stream. That was eventful. Now Ruan, now little step on the inside. I think the US has male cheerleaders. Says Big Rig. A big bump off there from Evan Russ. Just the 2 minutes remaining in this first half. Divanaki popping it up to JD Schickerling. Oh, little attempt in the breakdown to steal that one from Hugh Sutton. And thanks those Stormers will be strong enough. Off to the left-hand side again. Getting back up to his feet, or at least trying to, Marcel Tennyson before he landed on his neck. In awkward fashion, Sinatla. Oh, that's great work from Hugh Sutton. And that is a knock-on from Sinatla. That was insane strength shown by the big lock for the Ospreys. And they'll go back now for another scrum in favour of the Ospreys side. Time for the Stormers to take control here, Hamish. Sears Roof, and they did have some very good position just inside of the Ospreys 22, but it was that drop ball again that ended up costing them. Just Hugh Sutton using his strength, just pulling him up. And we have got, no male dancers, please, and Stormers are getting bullied in contact. Yeah, we are seeing some real physicality from this Ospreys side. Kiwis don't lead leaders when they do the haka. Says Big Rig. I think it's also just a lot of extra people on the payroll, isn't it? So they're probably trying to cut costs in some regard. Wales could use some. Says Big Rig. It looks like maybe a bit of an injury here for Thukana Singer. Although it does look like he wants to continue in this match. 7 appearances for the Ospreys. Did used to play for Bath way back in the day, I believe, for Thukana Singer. Now, chance here for the Ospreys. 1 minute remaining on the clock for this half, so all they have to do is just not concede. That is the big goal. If you are the Ospreys here, if the Stormers can get themselves a penalty at scrum time, just like they did in the last, got the chance of either taking the 3 or maybe getting themselves a potential try. Ospreys are Welsh. Yes, they are indeed, although it's hard to tell how many Welsh sides we're actually going to see next year in the URC. Offside lines, this is disturbing. Says Johan there. After bring it on, my dream was to be a cheerleader. Says Cool Story, I think the Ospreys score before half-time, although they have got a long way to go down the field, currently sitting about 20 metres out from their own line with the carrier Dewey Lake over the ball for the Stormers and winning the penalty there in the breakdown. Perfect timing. And the steal in the half from Andre Smith. I'd rather have cheerleaders, to be fair. I refer to them as the Jacks. Says Fleshin. But now this is a chance at 3 for Yuri Matia if he wants it. And it looks like once again they are going to be taking on that shot. We have there, Hamish, you think male dancers will encourage female supporters to watch and grow the sport? No idea. And have the Stormers were offside before that breakdown, says Haino. Here there, the halftime siren, Yuri Matia. Ready to kick this one towards the post. He's currently sitting 0 from 2 in this match, but that one has gone over, making the score now 10 points to 8, still in favour of the Ospreys. So a good start to the match for this Ospreys side. We've only seen the 1 try from the Stormers. That came from Evan Ruiz. And what was a very impressive cross kick from Yuri Matia, who now sits 1 from 3 off the kicking tee. The crowd have piled in throughout that first half as well by the looks of it. But they will not be as happy with how this game sits compared to what we saw last week for the Stormers up against Leinster. The end score in that game was 35-0. And we may struggle to get to 35 points throughout this match. Very poor display of goal kicking thus far. Nothing wrong with male strippers, disco dancers. Says Ruth. And we have to there get your hips grinding and your calves kicking. Says Ruth there as well. They are just showing the replays of the tries. Kieran Hardy was the man who managed to score himself twice. The 2 tries in the first half. I like to watch female rugby and rugby league only to look at the baddies. I don't care about the results or the game itself, only to satisfy my eyes, says Johnny. You see, some people watch it for the skill level, because that last Women's World Cup, I think, was one of the better ones we have seen, in terms of the fact that there were also so many sides that had a good chance of being able to at least go through to those playoff games. The Springboks women up against the Italians, that was a massive win for them there, and probably, to be fair, was the game that made South Africa now professional for the women's game. The fact that they made it through to the quarterfinals to then face the Black Ferns. Had they missed out on that, who knows, maybe they would have still been waiting. Crazy to think that they beat Leinster but struggle here, says Hens, although it does show you where Leinster were at in terms of, like, Ospreys. You know, they did lose their first round game, but they scored 40 points up against the Bulls in that one. So depending on how the Bulls go up against Leinster may tell us that this Osprey side is actually a little bit stronger than people have given credit to. And we have got there, what's wrong with Jill? Jack's wearing Spider-Man suits. And Kirsten Dunst for life. Is she an actor? That name rings a bell. Is she the blonde one who's in a few things? Maybe. Chris Pratt used to be a male stripper. Says Big Rig. He was doing bachelorette parties for middle-aged women before he was a millionaire Hollywood superstar. Says Big Rig. Well, there you go. You want to become a big actor in Hollywood, just start stripping. Don't actually do that. The ref must wake up. The effing offside. The forward passes, says Johan there. And she used to be a Superman's girl on Smallville. Yeah, see, I've watched one Superman movie, and that was Superman versus Batman. Because we went to it, and I hadn't watched any of the others. The other guys had watched some of the other ones, so I had no idea what was happening. Leinster target Loftus match. There'll be another team tomorrow. Bulls playing with their D team, says Eric. And what's up, bro? We'll be in Kaiapoi next week, or next year to visit the fam. I've been too long since I've been to New Zealand, says Hensel. Yeah, hopefully you will end up enjoying it. What time of the year are you going, Hensel, out of curiosity? You picked one of the worst, says Big Rig. Did I? I thought it was all right, but then saying that, I haven't been back to watch any others, so maybe, I've also only watched one Transformers movie, I think, and that was actually with them as well. I've seen very few movies, I have to say. Well, but then I've seen a few, just not the ones that anyone even lists. The strippers' gym routine is stricter than rugby training, says Casper. He's just showing that cross kick there, straight into the hands of Evan Roos. Such an ugly bounce there for Giles as well. He was waiting for that ball to just pop up, either going dead. I'm not sure, says Hensel. But yeah, if it is during winter, just make sure you pack some warm clothes. Because she's been a pretty cold year in New Zealand. How is Ben Affleck as Batman for you? Well, I haven't seen anyone else as Batman, so I don't know how he was compared to anyone else. It was also like probably a good 8 or so years ago, but it seemed all right. I didn't mind it. Once again, didn't really know what was happening. It's been like 50 Superman movies this past century, and I put versus Batman in the bottom 5. Well, there you go. I'll be back. I'm not doing my work now. I'm procrastinating watching the live stream. I need to lock in. Says Johnny. So yeah, we will see hopefully a little bit later on in the day. I'm sure we'll see you popping in and out for that Perth Test match as well between New Zealand and the Australians. We have got there. It makes me sad that you haven't heard Bill Conroy's RIP Batman. Yeah, nah. Oh, sorry, Kevin Conroy. I don't know where I got Bill from. Going over to commentate Sharks game soon, getting notification. Yep, so that game is going to be starting up in around 1 hour and 8 minutes time for their match up against the Dragons, and we will be covering that one on the channel too, so of course be sure to check that out. Did you watch the movie with cars that changed into Megan Fox? Or that changed into Megan Fox or something like that? Or was she in it in a car that spoke? I think the one that we initially watched did have Megan Fox in it. And all I remember from the first initial Transformers movie that we went and watched at the movies was the fact that one of the little robot things was humping her leg. That's all I remember from that movie. So whatever movie that is, that's the one that we watched initially. And then I think we went and watched another one later. But I still had no idea what was happening. Is Tom Cruise like 5 foot tall? He could be. I haven't really looked up his height. To be fair, they're just showing that pace down the wing from Daniel Casinde, really showing off what he can do. And then that ball on the inside to Hardy, which led to the second try of the match for the Ospreys. One moment, I'm about to sneeze, so I will very quickly mute myself so you don't have to hear me do it. We are hopefully good. The 1980s cartoon Transformers movie still holds up, says Big Rick. What about Adam West? Adam West. Is he off Family Guy? Is that the news reporter's name? Was that Adam West? Probably not. Yeah, just that replay again. Was nicely done. And then just not quite able to cover there, Nutley. He's got plenty of pace and missed out and being able to go for a chip and chase earlier on in the game just due to it hitting one of the Ospreys players. He's in Family Guy as himself, says Big Rig. Oh, so he's actually a real person. I didn't know. Right, they're showing 15 replays of this same try, so I think they do like it quite a bit. Oh, look at there, Tom Cruise is dead. Executed at Guantanamo Bay for crimes against humanity. Temporarily replaced with body double. Tell you what, that body double does very well, doesn't he? Because he's got all of the mannerisms down. He looks the same, he talks the same, he walks the same. So that man's probably done full-time acting lessons just to learn how to be Tom Cruise in that case. And bench is very important for the Stormers here. Ospreys could tire, says Haino, and that is probably the perfect time to bring up the benches for these two sides looking through. For the Stormers, they have got JJ Kutzer, Alistair Vermaak, and also Sunday there as the number 18. Ruben van Heeren off of the bench too to bring a bit of an impact with Ben Jason Dixon, Paul de Villiers, Steven Nkura, and then also Swart there as the number 23. Now, it is interesting because the 6-2 split for the Stormers side, it could come in pretty handy because at times they have been the less physical of these two teams. The Ospreys got some great options here. Lloyd, Jones, Botha there. Also Fender, Morse, Morgan, Williams, Florence, and Hopkins as the number 23. But for the Stormers, they have got 3 away games in a row. So as soon as they finish this contest, they will be heading up north, playing the Scarlets in Wales. Then from there, the 2 Italian sides, Zebre and Benetton, both did pretty decently in their first round matches. For the Ospreys, they will have Zebre and then they will have Glasgow. Those games both at home and then up against the Dragons away from home in the Welsh Derby. And of course, another one to keep a close eye on in that regard. But this is the way that the table did sit at the start of this round. Currently, the Stormers, because they are losing this game by less than 7, they would get themselves the bonus points, so they would actually still sit in that number 1 spot. In fact, no. No, they would. I was about to say that the Ospreys would go above them, but no, the Ospreys would be on 5 points in total there. We're there straight into the hand of Evan Rus. Sorry, though, I respect you. Your observation is bad. Says Johan, in what way was that not straight into the hands of Evan Rus with the bounce of the ball? Like, he couldn't have been in the more perfect position for the bounce of that cross kick. So it's definitely down to his positioning, but the way that it's kind of get it back, like, what else would you call it other than the perfect bounce? We have there Hamish has never told us his height. I call 5'9.5 foot. Says it was there from Cool Story. I have bats in my roofs, made a load of noise, but I love them. Says Craig. Well, that's the main thing, isn't it? I learned the other day that bats are not actually blind, and that blind as a bat is actually just a saying. But they don't have the best vision, unfortunately. Yes, and holograms are tricky too. Yeah, well, you think so. They'd probably cost a lot of money to try and get the holograms going. And the Bat Attic says Big Rig. I guess Michael J. Fox was also short. And Stormers better take care of business. Ospreys beat the Stormers last year. Wouldn't put it past it to beat the Stormers tonight, says Xavier. And yeah, they have come out firing. And that's the thing. Up against the Bulls, they also did just that. They were able to make the most of their early opportunities and took that lead. The Bulls wore them down as the match went on, and I do think that is where maybe the Stormers, with that 6-2 split, could cause quite a bit of damage. Mr. Bean was taller than I thought. So yeah, it's a cool story. And afternoon all, says Mr. Fantastic. Welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. You're excited for all the rugby that we got today. We have got the Sharks versus Dragons game taking place a little bit later on, just an hour or so away from taking place. But that one will be intriguing because the Dragons, they are the home side, whereas I think the Sharks come in as the favourites heading into that matchup. I will have a very quick look here and see what we can find. Actually, the odds for that game are $1.87 for both teams. So completely even in that department. So yeah, a bit of an intriguing one when it does take place. And hey, Roof, we work party night, says Craig there. And yes, but the Bulls are or at least protected their ruck. Stormers seem like they have no ruck defense, says Xavier. Yeah, there's been a few times where the Ospreys have managed to get that one pretty easily. And Dragons to beat the Sharks without a doubt, says Xavier. Now second half just about to get underway. The Stormers will be kicking this one from left to right. Kick in the head. What would that have been if it was a South African team? A kick in the head. When did we see a kick in the head, Johan? When was there a kick in the head? How far behind in the live stream are you at the moment? Out of curiosity. You got kicked in the head. I'm trying to think through. Unless maybe you're ahead, perhaps. Oh, myself, as the second half has just kicked off. Now ball is there for the Ospreys. Our rucks are a bit bad. Says Wenma. My cats are love relaxing under the duvet. I listen to your commentary, sends them into La La Land. I think this is pretty calming for our cat as well. Says Cool Story. Now rolling this one back. Kieran Hardy inside of the 22. And that one's going to go into touch. Nicely done for the exit. But 40 metres out from the line. The Ospreys are now going to have themselves a defensive line out to try and win back. Stormers, though, they love a rolling more. Definitely with Andre Hugo Fenta off the back. Afraid tonight is a flat. Or I'm as flat as an earless balloon. Worked too hard. Ain't that a kick in the head? Can mean something surprising or unexpected, says Big Rig. So do you think that's the way that he's using it? I think he's meaning someone literally got kicked in the head, but I'm not sure who it was or when it happened. Now the Stormers close to the sideline. That looked like a knock-on from Andre Hugo Fenta, but it looks like it's going to be play on just for now. The ball's still on the side of the Ospreys. Now Matongo, they've held him up again here. And now gets it down to the turf. The ball pops out the side. Ospreys firing it through their legs. Moriarty having all sorts of trouble trying to hang on to that ball. No, I think he's on some wacky drugs and I want in. But now, rolling this one back, Kieran Hardy. Again, going for that box kick downfield. This time he cannot find touch on the full as he is outside of his own 22. Nicely taken by Similani, going back across to the left-hand side. Offload there from Marcel Kennison. Backline movement, Evan Ross. One more on the outside. Lilian Zas trying to fend, but he's going to be taken down by Kasende. And Rus does play a half-back, just trying to keep this ball moving. Andre Smith. Oh, Ross Moriarty doing roly-polies in the breakdown. A big bump off from Andre Hugo Fenta on Kieran Hardy. And just to get out of that breakdown, maybe have taken a bit of a knock to the head there. Duvanachi going on the short side. Another slip there. Kasende. Cleaned out by Yuri Matia. This is where the Stormers just need to get a few more phases together here. Off to the right. Open the ball back up again. Oh, good clean out. And a new advantage going the way of the Stormers. Now sitting 35 out from the line. Similani trying to find his way through. He is tackled by Ross Moriarty and knocks it on. And Ospreys Moriarty, Welsh Corgi. Says Ruth there. Right, rolling on the wrong side of the ruck is the call there against the Ospreys. And this is another kickable 3 here. Or they're just checking a slow motion replay. I think it was actually the contact of Davis as well. We have got the Ospreys Moriarty. The Ospreys number 9, his pants. That's the one problem with having white pants. Not that directly that problem, but it's just more of the case of, as soon as you get a bit dirty, it does look a bit rough. I remember a couple years ago, one of the teams had a logo round the buttocks. And it was just a circle. So it showed a bullseye straight to the hole. And that logo did not last very long. They decided they should probably change that one. But that kick has gone over. The Stormers sitting now leading 11 points to 10. Dragons going to beat the Sharks. It's a 50-50 game at the moment according to the odds. If the Sharks side can fire back from their game up against Glasgow, in which they were all right at times. They didn't have their best 80-minute performance. But, they'll be competitive, I would say, up against the Dragons. They just can't let the away advantage slip through their fingers. That's why I like England playing in all white. At the end of the game, they're all muddy and grassy and bloody. It's so great. Says Big Rig. A very old song sung by Dean Martin. Ain't That a Kick in the Head? Also featured on the radio station in the game Fallout. Says Mike. Then the sub comes out looking immaculate, standing next to these grubby pigs. Says Big Rig. I wouldn't wear the bullseye pants in a war zone. Says, cool story, but now in the pocket, Yuri Matia, that one's come off the side of his boot. Does go into touch. Just outside of the 22. I looked at the highlights. The Sharks were in the game till the last 10 minutes, says Hano, and they just started to slip a little bit. They lose by 13 or something in that game, or 15 in the end. They just started making mistakes later on in the game. So if they can play an 80 minutes game up against the Dragons, they'll be in a decent position. Looks like a couple changes just now being made. Ben Jason Dixon makes his way on, and Paul de Villiers also making his way onto the park. Both on there for the Stormers. Just talking about Ben Jason Dixon. They list him as a Springbok. It's been a little while since that man had himself that Springbok chance. But honestly, he may be back there at some point in time if there are enough injuries. I really hope the Sharks win tonight. See, it's weird balls. And penalty goes the way of the Stormers. So they get the steal. So Connie Evans, he is the player who made way, as well as Marcel Tennyson. They have decided to leave Ivan Rus out there on the field at the moment for the Stormers. Yuri Matia, he hasn't found touch again. That is now 2 times that he hasn't managed to find the touchline. How terrible, says Johan. I assume that is to do with the missing touch from Matia, as that is now twice. I know James O'Connor can relate to that last game up against New Zealand. Now Snutler, the pass through the legs from the Stormers, losing meters flat out, so Similani has to kick it downfield. Nicely taken at the back. Now looks like Edwards is signalling to kick it high and does just that, chasing after it. Kasende, you get to go up for this ball, slapping it back onto the side of Kieran Hardy. He's already got himself 2 tries throughout this game, close to the steal and the breakdown from the Stormers, but just losing their footing at the last moment. And again, Matia says Hano there. Now Ross Moriarty getting a step going. De Villiers, in fact, that time it was Ben Jason Dixon trying to get the steal. Kieran Hardy offloads it up now to the hands of Davis. This is not good. Evan Ruiz is down at the moment for the Stormers, ladies and gentlemen. As a scrummy Welsh international. If you're talking about Gareth, no, you're talking about Kieran Hardy. He is, yes, has had international minutes. Kasende does not quite get to that ball. It will now be the goal line dropout, but this is a big concern here at the moment. Evan Ruiz has stayed down with some sort of injury. Or at least he was for a little bit. I don't know whether or not he is up now. They've changed the camera angle so we can't see. Yeah, getting that one down. Yuri Matia covering well at the back. It is the goal line dropout. I'm still waiting to see whether or not they're going to show Evan Ruiz. It looks like he's back up to his feet. Looks like maybe the left shoulder at the moment. Might have been what was giving him a bit of trouble, but now chance here for a drop kick if Ospreys want it, but instead it's going to be one of the big forwards who run that ball back. Now off to the right-hand side, little shimmy there from Edwards, goes to Moriarty, who is smashed in a 2-man tackle by Evan Ruiz and Ben Jason Dixon. Now back into the pocket, around the halfway line, Edwards will kick this one high. Giles looking to go up for it, but beautifully, no. Similani had it, and he actually had the ball ripped from him while they were coming down. Evan Ruiz, don't get injured tonight, please, says Ruth. Yeah, they certainly do want him available for the Stormers side. Now going back across to the right-hand side, little step coming in. We have got there, were there any rule changes ahead of the new season? Seen something about some rule changing, but from what I've seen, the Juno was a little high, says Mr. Fantastic AJ. I'll be honest, I haven't heard of too many other than like those little fine-tuned ones that you normally see when it comes to certain decisions. That's great work in the breakdown from the Stormers, and they will win the turnover again. Still leading this game by 1 with around the 30 minutes to go now. Crowd getting behind their side. But it is Ciabello Sinatla manages to get that steal. But now, this one does have to find touch. They've had it too many times that they've made the little mistakes. It's the last thing that they want. So far for Ciabello Sinatla, he hasn't had a massive amount of running meters throughout this game, but he's done quite a few things out there on the field already. The only big change is 20-minute red, says Haino. And Morigati's another Welsh legendary name, says Ruth there. Right, just a little pause. I actually wear white rugby shorts every day because I have ADHD and OCD. So yeah, it's a cool story. I hate the 20-minute red card, says Mr. Fantastic AJ. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Sometimes it feels like a red's too strict for a full game, but then at the same time, like it is just normally a red. But yeah, we'll see who gets that first big red card that everyone's like, okay, I'm glad it's 20 minutes. I don't know whether or not we've had that just yet in the URC season. Now, going off to the left-hand side, a little bit of a pick and go. Oh, almost kicked out of the hands of Duvanache. Now nicely taken down the wing by Giles, stepping and running it straight sideways, trying to find a bit of a gap. Unable to find one, maybe first 20-minute red, second half of the half. Or second half off for the half. And AJ, I hear you. What's the point of a red card if it's only 20 minutes, says Haino. And I think they can still give a red card, can't they? If it's like a serious enough bit of foul play, they can rule it as bad enough to take them off for the rest. Or is that just something that people were hoping to see? The Ospreys possession at the moment in their hands, 40 metres out from the line. Little step attempted there from Edwards. Again, the counter-ruck coming from the Stormers. And that's actually something that we've seen throughout the second half a lot more of. Them looking more competitive in those breakdowns. The big wide cutout pass there for the Ospreys, now cutting back inwards. Nice stepping from Kieran Williams. When I was at school decades ago, our physical education shorts were black. Thank goodness, says Ruth. Now 43 metres out. Stormers told to get out of it. Yeah, like a punch or something reckless, says Haino. Little chip in behind. Ospreys chasing after it, but they do have cover at the back. Yuri Matia claiming it for the Stormers. A good low tackle made on him. Now counter-ruck from the Ospreys. And again, the ball going to be stolen. That was Hugh Sutton once more. He has been everywhere throughout this game. Giles tackled low by Ciabello Sinatla. And a new advantage now going against Evan Ruiz, who kicks the ball away as well. I like a kick in the head, says Big Rig. Permanent red cards can be given, says Lilia. And yeah, like if you punch the ref's teeth out, it'll be a full red, as it possibly should be. In that scenario, but 28 minutes left. Right, the time has been turned off here. It looks like a little bit of an injury. They're saying just a bit of quality all throughout this game from these sides. There's been some great moments. I think that now with that 6-2 split, we're starting to see that tempo may start to hurt this Ospreys side. They will want to attack for as long as they can. Andre Hugo Finta. He will make his way off of the field here. And that is going to be for JJ Kutsia. Sitting 5 metres out from the line at the moment. The Ospreys, or at least they will be. They have decided that the kick for the corner is the better option of the two calls. Or I guess the 3. Or the 4, in fact, because they could tap it or scrummage it too. 20-minute red card. Yes, it is bad. If you can't handle a little violence, do ballet. You effing... Jeez. Johan is firing the old shots today, isn't he? I know that he's not happy with the referee in this case, so we will just put that down to rage and not, hopefully, how he normally would be. We have got there, I think I could change your minds. Yeah, it's a cool story there. Thank goodness nobody's complaining about the referee here. Cue Johan. But now 5 metres out from the line. They're trying to drag it down, and they have controlled that very well. The Stormers, Evan Ruiz got pushed into the referee there after trying to start a little bit of a push and shove. I definitely want to punch a ref in the past. Says Haino there. But now, it looks like a change is about to take place for the Ospreys. They are bringing Tom Florence onto the field here. That is going to be for Thokana Singer. Making his way off. Didn't have as much of an impact in this game as he would have liked to have, although we haven't seen a huge amount of that Ospreys backline at times. It's been more so the kicking. I have never seen a rugby player pile drive a ref into the ground, but there is a non-zero chance that could happen, says Big Rig. I know that in Australia a while ago, in fact it could have even been in New Zealand too, there have been games that have been stopped because a referee's been full-on attacked by the players, but Yeah, luckily that doesn't happen too often, but it can happen. Like, in the lower league games, you do see referees taking a fair amount of stick, which is pretty rough because most of the time they're just doing it as a volunteer rather than as like a career. Now that ball's gone in. And, both front rows standing up. I've seen boxers punch the ref, both on purpose and by accident. Says Big Rig, rugby players are usually more careful. Yeah, see, if you hit a ref in rugby, you've gone out of your way a majority of the time. Like, we've seen a ref go for an HIA once. That was actually Jordan Way in the sevens. But, you know, most of the time, if a referee is struck in any way, it's half by done on purpose. And Joe, if it's something, or someone's retirement match, why are not do it? And the Stormers 34-10. Says Joshua. Probably happened in some football match. In the lower level football matches, we've actually seen refs get killed because people didn't agree with the decisions that they made, which is definitely something that you don't want sneaking into the game of rugby. Currently 5 metres out from the line. The Stormers have got themselves a scrum feed. Now that is 5 metres out from their own line. So Josh is expecting a few quick fire tries in a row here for the Stormers side, who have had a couple opportunities, just the one try of Evan Russ at this stage of the contest. Now ball's going to be fed and big push there, popping up in the front row, and they will get themselves the penalty again here. The Stormers relieve a lot of the pressure where they do sit on the field. Matongo is fired up in this contest. This one's going to be kicked into touch. The ref has been struck. Well, this ref has been struck before the game. Says Johan. It must have been, would be a great referee, whistle blowing. Says Roof there. Now ready to throw this one in again for the Stormers. Now kick downfield by Divanachi. Now Jack Walsh. Going for the kick up and under. 25 metres out from the line. Yuri Matia is looking to find the touchline here off the bouncer. In fact, it's going to go into the 22 of the opposition. Now holding this ball in one hand, Giles. This is when they can be so dangerous on the counter-attack. The Ospreys trying to sneak through, but a great tackle made by Ben Jason Dixon. Now Kieran Hardy, bit of a cheap shot on him there. Right in front of the referee too. A little bit of a bold call to try and do it. Straight in front of the ref. But he did not get penalised. So that is one bonus for the Stormers. Play a little bit of a counter ruck here from the Stormers. In fact, it's a little bit more than a counter. He has done the big dive. Duvanache and wins the penalty. Ospreys yellow card incoming. Says Haino. And Switch Rugby predicted that Amy O'Cocaine gets red carded in her last game for punching someone while smoking a cigarette. Says Big Rig. Right, this will be another choice here to go for either the 3 or the 7 in this case. Now, looking at the post. Go like this. Like that as well. At the moment in the odds, the Stormers are sitting just as the favourite in this scenario. And if this kick goes over, certainly increase those odds just that little bit more in their favour. Yuri Matia, he's sitting 2 from 4 today, so 50%. This would make it 60% if this one goes over. And would give them the lead of just the 4 points. This game could go down to the wire, which is exactly what people wanted to see for the opening round of the URC. Ospreys at the moment are $5.50 underdogs as I see them sitting. But that kick has gone over from Yuri Matia, making the score now 14 points to 10 in favour of the home side. Question is whether or not they can just keep on increasing that. Still within a converted try. In fact, it's still within a non-converted try. The split between these teams. It'll be a high-scoring game, followed by Stormers winning by kicking 3-pointers like 2003 England. Says Big Rig. Can happen every once in a while. I did say also alongside it that we were due for a low-scoring game. I really didn't want it to be this one, though. I just need 7 points. Stormers, please, says Aino. Now going off to the left-hand side to Vanache. Does end up hitting that ball up, so Yuri Matia has to play halfback. Gets it across to Ruben van Heerden. I've been told to use it again for Divinache. Waiting for this one to come down, taking a while. It's going to be slapped back by Leon Zas, a player we haven't seen a huge amount of throughout this game, but someone we have seen quite a bit of is Matongo, just having that position again. Yuri Matia passing away to the right-hand side. Chance here for the Stormers to show off their pace, and Similani showing off the step. One more pass to Ruanel on the outside. Ciabello Sinetla grabbing forward by Ruanel. Great pickup. That is a phenomenal try from the Stormers, and somehow managing to keep that ball alive. I believe they will just check the feet here to make sure that nothing went wrong. You see my house if you were standing on the top of that mountain. Says Inferno there, but that is a huge one. No, wasn't you. Thought the Stormers would get 40 and the Ospreys will be chasing their own tail way off. Right. This may be a brilliant team try for Similani, but Ciabello Sinatla showing off that stepping right next to the sideline, and it's just that counter-attack there from the Stormers. Similani cutting inwards, cutting out. Oh no, I think he might have almost touched that sideline there. Sinatla, they may have to check that one again. Although I don't think we're going to be seeing too many replays with this game being in Cape Town. But that looked very close to touching the sideline. Well, that one does go over, making the score now 21 points to 10. Which stadium is this being played in, says Inferno. It is being played at Cape Town Stadium. And a scoreboard spoiled it, says Big Rig. Ospreys scored more points than Leinster did. That is true. Everyone pretty much has at this point. Right, we're going to see the replay now. Nah, he stays in the field of play. Very nicely done. I'm glad that they showed that replay just to clear it up. It keeps his feet in the field of play. I think that is what the TMO were just checking there to make sure that it was all right. It has all been cleared. And the try has scored. Ospreys held out for a while. Says Cool Story, yeah, they are now in a pretty tricky predicament because they are now down by 11 points. And that seems like a fair few. Now the Stormers kicking this one downfield. It's actually JJ Kutsia who is leading the charge here for a bit of a chase. But here come the Ospreys down the short side, cutting back inwards. Edwards with some nice quick stepping. That's good TMO, quiet. Those that seen this, that seen the same. Says Mr. Fantastic AJ, no more points for the rest of the game would be lovely. I feel like it's starting to open up a little bit. We have got there, great show. I saw the score on the screen as ahead of your commentary, but by a good bit, says Dennis. Yeah, that is just the unfortunateness of watching URC TV and having the live scoreboard. Sadly, normally for the scoreboard, if I move my mouse, it will stop updating. But for some reason, the URC games just love to be, I guess, efficient. Oh, another penalty goes the way of the Ospreys. But yeah, maybe next game it will be a little bit smoother with a bit of luck. I know that it's buffered a couple times for the URC website. I could try refreshing, see if that gets us a bit closer. What we need, boys, is someone to hold up a Kiwi Lad sign. Says Inferno. It's no bother. Good man, great job, says Dennis. And a better open up for the sake of the Ospreys, says Cool Story. Although I do think an open play game here may actually hurt the Ospreys more, because it does seem like the danger of the counter-attack is certainly there from the Stormers' side. They're just showing that running of Kasende. And on the short side, it was just the offside from the side of the breakdown. All ball stolen from the Stormers. Only 61 minutes through, and inside of his 22-old Yuri Mateo almost broke his ankle there with the way that he kicked that one downfield around the halfway line. Jack Walsh again trying to find his way through, but he's tackled by Ruanel. He's had a very solid game from that number 13 jersey and a try assist just before. Fair enough, Hamish. You can at least, you can see the game at least. Says Cool Story. How's the weather in your part of the world? It's been raining a lot. In fact, we're expecting 40 mil of rain over the next 24 hours, or including the hours that we've had prior. And it's probably about 7 degrees Celsius. How you feeling for tomorrow? I'm excited. It's a bit weird. Just because it's the last big day of international rugby for a month, I'm going to have a lot of spare time, and it's going to be weird to have time to do other things outside of international rugby. Oh, that ball's loose. The ref just kind of standing in the way there, just hoping that he wouldn't get collided with. He had a couple players slightly hitting him. Evan Russ looking for the turnover in the breakdown, but does lose the footing. Raining all day here. Says Big Rig. Changing direction now. Going for the kick in behind was Dan Edwards. Looking for the 50-22, but Yuri Matia at the back has managed to cover it. And he can slow this one down. Hey, you can finally watch some movies. That is true. Although I do have a couple cricket bats that I have to knock in for the junior teams here. So that's a tricky one. I don't know whether or not you can watch a movie while knocking in a cricket bat. Anyone who's knocked one in, they'll know that it's just quite noisy. But I've got a massage gun, so I'm wondering whether or not I can get strategic and knock it in with that. Maybe that would work, maybe it wouldn't. It would probably make it weaker. But, yeah, that'll have to happen before the cricket season gets underway. 17 minutes remaining. When was the last time you visited your aunt? Now that you can do that. Why couldn't I do that? Where was my aunt? Which aunt are we talking? Cool story. Had enough time to plan a trip to South Africa, says Inferno. Yeah. Not too sure when it would happen. It would have to be, I would say, I've mentioned about a 3-year, like within that 3-year period, I would quite like to be able to make the trip. But I'd have to time it well. I don't know what time of the year to go. I don't know what to do while I'm over there. Going off to the right-hand side here, the Ospreys. Sitting 25 metres out from their line. If New Zealand lose tomorrow, then give the bat to a supporter. It's not my bat to give away. It's actually the cricket clubs. I'm knocking them in just because the junior bats do need to get, they need to get knocked in. And I'm also helping out with junior cricket this year, so I can't really give away their bats to a random person online. I think I'll probably get sacked from the role. In that case, do some cooking in your time off. And also go crash at Pick and Burn's place. They are in Switzerland, though. Oh, Similani again, running up the field. He's got to be working his way towards man of the match with the way that he has been going throughout this contest. But the Stormers, every time they get that attack going, it's just close to the danger we have there. How are you? Full of energy, I presume? Yeah, we've got plenty of it at the moment. Even though this is a 7:30 a.m. game between the two sides. Our next game is kicking off in only around 35 minutes as well. Stormers by 12. Says Craig. And Highlander, the Nolan Trilogy, Shawshank Redemption, 12 Monkeys, Oppenheimer. Now ready to throw this ball in. Dewey Lake. Nicely claimed this time by the Ospreys. Lucky you, I'm exhausted after a working week. Says Big Rig. He's been relatively busy at work alongside the streams. But luckily, I'd say because of the rain, it's meant that I've had maybe 1 or 2 days that I haven't had to worry about too much other than just editing. Cape Town is end of November and beginning of March. If you're looking for the sun, says Inferno. I'll be fair. Rugby in the morning sucks. Too early for a beer, says Mr. Fantastic. And now the Ospreys, they are looking to find a try in the second half. Both of these sides have got 2 in this matchup, so 1 more would give no one the bonus point, but 2 more could actually give both of them a bonus point from this game. Kicking it high, nicely taken by Leleon Zas again. And safe under the high ball, the Stormers throughout the second half too. The ball has gone onto the side of the Ospreys though. I don't know how they've got that without infringing, but now going out to the right-hand side, a little bit isolated, close to the sideline, foot was out. And now the Stormers looking for the ball here. It is the replacement, number 22 in this scenario, I should say, rather than 21. It will be Stephen Nkura. I think he's just been told by the referee to settle down a little bit. You should come to England when New Zealand are playing at Twickenham. I think every rugby fan should go to Twickenham once. The atmosphere is chef's kiss. Says Big Rig. I'm making meatballs. Anyone wants some? Says Inferno. See, I haven't had a meatball in a long time. I had a meat patty, but not a meatball. But probably not. It would probably go bad by the time you ship it over here, I would think. We've got a new member. Once again, Inferno, thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. And you now have access to those random emojis that are in the chat every once in a while. Ben Jason Dixon claiming the line out now, going back across to the right here for the Stormers as they move towards the halfway line. Nkura with a slinging pass, skips one man, goes now, little kick attempted from Yuri Matia, slaps sideways and it will go into touch, and the Ospreys now have got themselves the line out. It is so difficult to determine by listening to the names if it is Irish or South African. If we have to take in regard how many players had to, I assume that's immigrate, says Johan, although this team is actually Welsh. Not Irish, the Ospreys. We have there about time I came a member, says Inferno, and it is greatly appreciated. Of course, hopefully you do enjoy using those emojis. There are, I think there's a Christmas one, and we're not too far from Christmas. All knocked on by Sinutla, not taking it cleanly. Stormers, they do not know what we know. Well, they do not know what we know. Well played so far in the second half, and we have got the gifted membership from Inferno as well there. So doubling down on it. Oh, advantage already over for the knock on. Now pick and go. Not really gaining a huge amount of meters there. Now another step. The moment says the South African Rugby story. Has a good one at the moment. Says good story, and the penalty goes the way of Paul de Villiers in the breakdown. He's very good at just locking over that ball and not moving. And it looks like Giles not too happy with that one. We've got another gifted membership from Inferno. So he has just gone for the triple in the chat too. But yeah, de Villiers onto that ball. At least one of them was. The other was on the body of Giles. He had enough on that ball to be able to win that penalty for the Stormers side. Now just the 12 minutes remaining. It looks like another change is just about to happen. Swart not far from making his way onto the field. The question now is, can the Stormers get themselves towards that bonus point? Thanks for the membership, Inferno. There's Aino there too. JD Schickerling is in the line out. They do instead decide to go to Ruben van Heeren. Can be a really great impact player off the bench. This is a massive rolling maul too from the Stormers. This does not look like it's going to stop Paul de Villiers. Just losing his footing underneath him now. Ben Jason Dixon with the pick and go. Tackled eventually by Hugh Sutton. As an excellent commentator says, Gideon, thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. And we have got plenty more coming up for this weekend. Probably another 12 hours or so, maybe even 14 still to come a commentary, including a game straight after this one taking place between the Sharks as well as the Dragons. Now backline, Similani, short ball, Ruan now dropping the ball. That's one of his first mistakes that he's actually made throughout this game. Hope the Welsh teams can put things up, or can pick things up. Six Nations will be bland if we're 5th or 6th. So here's Mr. Fantastic AJ. And isn't it crazy how close we are to the Six Nations? Like at the moment, I'm going to get you the date. 2026. We're only 125 days away from the Six Nations. Are the Sharks playing later? They are. They're playing in 30 minutes' time, and they are going head-to-head with the Dragons. What could be a very intriguing game. Right, Dan du Plessis is the man who's going to make his way off the field, and that is for Swartz, who has now made his way on. Got the emojis there from Inferno too. But yeah, 4 months is going to absolutely fly by. Like the fact that the 1st November international match is happening in, well, if you count the one in October, it's taking place in 21 days' time. If you do count the ones in November, it's 28 days till the November internationals start up. Now getting close, and they are over there. That looks like Paul de Villiers, I believe. Yes, it is. As he crosses the try line off of the bench and does manage to score at 50 days, says Gavin. Our Wales have got to get the autumn internationals out of the way first. And 135 days is a lot. And Sharks against the Dragons on the land of the Dragons. And should run faster than the Sharks can swim. So here's Kevin, but a great try for Paul de Villiers. That now puts the Stormers in a position where they need just the one more try to work towards that bonus point. And that would be 2 in a row for them if that was the case. Was that the same maul? I want to say it broke off the side, but I think it was all right. Says Mr. Fantastic AJ. Well said. And now, another miss there for Yuri Matia. And the scoreline starting to get towards those 40 points that some were predicting for the Stormers side. It seems like the Ospreys in their second halves just haven't quite been able to keep that same level of tempo. Yeah, de Villiers, very hard to stop. Definitely when he's got Evan Ruiz on his side too. Now 9 minutes remaining. I also know that the scoreboard was not ahead of that one, so that was quite handy in that regard. John Dobson looking on, still doesn't look happy with what he has seen, but I'm sure he is more happy with how it sits now than he was a little while ago. Pretty good by the Stormers. They decide that could slow the Stormers down. There's probably, like, and this is not in any way supposed to sound insulting, but there's probably quite a few sides that would be quite competitive with this Stormers team. The Ospreys, they were early, but I think that whoever it is, depending on where the game's played, it just has to be a side that can go for the 80 minutes. Because I think up against Leinster as well, we did see that the Stormers, because of their tempo later on in the game, that was where they really ran away with it. And we are still seeing it here. Evan Roos gets the offload away to Swart and Kura. Now another carry for Evan Roos. Be interested to see who actually gets himself the man of the match here. Because you've got Similani's been playing a very good game from 15. We've got another gifted membership from Inferno. Thank you very much. Also, Evan Roos, he's had a solid enough game. Ospreys get themselves the steal, and they are looking for the 2 tries of their own to get back within the 7 points. And it was 10 points to 5 to the Ospreys at one point. So it's big rig, it was. And also it was 10 points to 8 at half time in this matchup in favour of the Ospreys. They have not scored a singular point in the second half of rugby. That beats all the official commentators as well, in my opinion, says Kevin. I agree, Hamish, no question, is the best commentator on YouTube. It's simply a fact, says Kevin there. Thank you very much. And also, Wales are back to pre-2005, only have a game. Regions taking the same approach. So here's Mr. Fantastic AJ. Now they haven't scored for 50 minutes. And that hurts. You know, there's not a lot of games where you don't score for 50 minutes that you go on to win. Unless you are actually the All Blacks from last weekend of the Rugby Championship. They didn't score for 50 minutes, but they actually won. So that's probably not a good example. But other than that, it's normally quite hard. Definitely when your opposition are scoring points during that time instead. One of my bank balance to be rounded number. So I gifted that one, says Inferno. And I do see now that they do have the option of Apple memberships or something along those lines that you can actually do it through iOS. I love to see Hamish actually join a team and commentate. Some of his comments, remarks are really funny. Plus super precise calls on the game, says Mr. Fantastic AJ. And that will be another penalty here. And good Saturday morning to you, Hamish, says Martis. Welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. Hope you're excited. A lot of big rugby games coming up this weekend. The deciders of the Rugby Championship. 11 turnovers won by the Stormers throughout this game. It's been the difference. Just the 6 minutes remaining. It's been actually going very quickly, this one. Stormers get another try to make sure for them not to get a closer score. And too bad you can't get give specific people like Twitch. Yeah, hopefully it's something that YouTube do actually do. I assume the only reason they don't let you do it is like so that they like theoretically you have to give more to try and get the person that you want. But surely, oops, wrong one. Yeah, surely they have like the ability to either have it as a randomized membership gifting or you pick someone and say gift membership or something like that. Like, I would think that they'd have the ability to do it, but maybe they just choose not to so that like more people have to gift. Now ball's going to be fed in here. Stephen Nkura. Now big push and the Stormers get themselves another penalty. We have got there WTF, the fact they have scored are contested. WTF, the fact that I assume that's that, or is that they? I'm not too sure what one that is. And WF, the fact they have scored are contested. I'm still confused, Johan. Just a little bit. Twitch is weird, says Big Rig. Didn't Pirate Software pay one of his mods to donate bits to him to keep his Hype Train donation going? No idea. Now ready to throw this one in. You know it's bad when the defence, as hey, what we did is technically not illegal. Says Big Rig now going off to the left-hand side. Similani passes one more on the outside to Lilian Zasi. He's one of the guys who's probably been a bit more quiet in this game than most would have expected. Hamish, do you need any physical therapy after a big cricket match? I normally end up with an injury after a big cricket match. And I'm curious to know what it's going to be this year. Because 2 years ago it was my groin. Last year it was my quad. So it's going to be something in that leg. Hopefully not a calf muscle though. Like that would, wait, have I just jinxed it? Probably. But yeah, if it's something I'd like it to not be in the leg. Just because like legs, you know, they're quite useful. Going off to the right hand side now around the halfway line here. Low tackle made. Off to the right hand side now. Morgan Williams, touch wood. I think this is wood, or at least it's made to look like wood. torn groin and torn quad. Are you related to Kevin Nash? Says Big Rig. Now, big seller, the dummy there from Morgan Williams. Does get the offload up to Jack Walsh, who offloads again, but it's going to be dropped there. Not quite taken cleanly, and that was potentially the chance for the Ospreys to get just a little bit closer in this game. Now the Stormers, they shouldn't have any troubles just closing out this contest, but the big thing is they will want those bonus points. And in this case, if they get themselves one try, they will get one more. I need physical therapy after stretching when I wake up. Says cool story. Walsh getting that offload away and then just not able to hang on to it was Tom Florence. Now currently sitting 20 minutes away from the next live stream that we have got on the channel. Just the 3 minutes remaining of this matchup. Ospreys need an intercept with an open field. Yeah, I think that they are lacking the pace in the open place. The Nutlers chasing them down. Similani as well. And Ruan now once again having a pretty solid game from that number 13 jersey. I need an Ospreys try for my Super Brew. Says Haino. And just the 3 minutes now left on the clock here. Dragons versus the Sharks at the moment does sit even in terms of the odds of either side being able to win that match. So it could be a much closer occurrence here. JJ Kudsia dealing with a little bit of a gash on the side of his hip by the looks of that, or at least a bit of a mark anyway. Showing the signs of quite a physical outing for these two teams. Stephen Nkura, scrum reset here from the referee, and this will use up vital seconds off the clock. This is actually where the Stormers probably want this game to tick along a little bit quicker. Who do you think is better, Eben or Abi de Villiers? It's a very hard comparison to make because both, of course, very different. So, I mean, both probably considered as the term GOAT gets thrown around a lot, but like both considered world class for both of them. You know, I'm actually going to look and see when is South Africa playing in the cricket department. They might be playing very soon, aren't they? South Africa, oh no, they're a little way in the future. They play Pakistan on the 12th of October, so they are about 8 days away from playing some cricket. Well, it went quickly, Hamish. I'm making coffee. Kevin, you want one? Please, Ruth. Well, need a tasty coffee. Says Kevin there too. Now 90 seconds left. Another scrum here for the Stormers, who are currently inside of their own half. So a bit of ground to be made up. They do want to get their bonus point, but they've got themselves another advantage at scrum time, so that is certainly going to give them the edge that they need. They can kick it downfield and create another chance here for that bonus point. Peter Martin calls it as boring in. There's been quite a few at the moment against Tom Botha. To be fair, Reece Henry wasn't doing too bad in the early stages, but sadly due to that injury, it meant that he had to go off. It was actually an HIA that caused the sub. Yeah, it is just, again, another big push from the Stormers. It is one thing that the South African sides can really rely on in close games or even in one-sided affairs. If they want a chance to be able to get that penalty, they just go for that scrum. 13 Ospreys penalties, though, throughout this match. That is far higher than they would have liked when you take a moment to pause. My cat looks up, and I think YouTube is frozen. Says cool story. A line-out throw for JJ Kutsia. Just the 20 seconds remaining. The Stormers, if they were to win this game with a bonus point, they would sit top of the table more than likely at the end of this round as well for the URC. Now another advantage going the way of the Stormers. Ospreys trying to get through the middle and rip it away. Now Nkura going to the short side. Little kick him behind and they'll go back for a penalty again as the siren reaches 80 minutes. Oh, bit of a push and a shove there with Paul de Villiers. Now the siren sounding. Aussies beating Kiwis. Says Trevor there. They are considered as not as big of an underdog as they were for their last contest, the Australians. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how they go. Great Milk and Sugar, says Ruth. And now Yuri Mateo is trying to take that one from a little bit closer to the line than the ref's mark, so he does get told to come back. Does make sure that that one goes into touch, but the line out and the rolling maul of the Stormers has also been extremely strong throughout this game. So you wonder whether or not that rolling maul can lead to another try opportunity here. Ready to throw it in, JJ Kutsia. Goes in, nicely taken by Ruben van Heeren, who will break off the back of the line out by himself, sitting 10 metres from the line. Now Nkura chasing the bonus point here for the Stormers. The Ospreys cannot afford to give away another penalty. Big collision with Ben Jason Dixon. Ospreys trying to get the steal in the breakdown. That looked offside from one of the Ospreys players. Didn't look like he was quite behind the hindmost foot. But that is going to be the end of the game. And they will win this contest here, 26 points to 10. They'll be slightly disappointed that they weren't able to get that bonus point right at the end of the game, but still a very good performance from the Stormers. And now we wait and see whether or not they will be at the top of the bunch by the end of this round. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. We are going to be covering that next game between the Sharks and the Dragons. That has taken place in 15 minutes' time. If you are new, sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Similani, man of the match. I don't think many people would argue he had a very strong game from that number 15 jersey. Yeah, we will see you all for the next one.